Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Everything But Net, the sports podcast where, since we're bad at sports, we talk about them. My name's Jake. I am a Division III former collegiate athlete, and now I have a real job.
And I'm Tyler. I don't have a real job. I just started the podcast with him. I haven't gone to college yet, and I'm basically the opposite of him.
So, we are just two guys that enjoy sports. Whenever we get together, we talk sports, we message sports. It's just sports
is our lives. It's our lives.
It's a very, very large part of it, and it's definitely most of our relationship.
Yeah, definitely.
So, we decided that what better way to express that and to continue on with that than starting a podcast, I guess.
It's just a great it's a great merger of the two.
Yeah, maybe there's somebody else out there in the world that wants to hear what we think. I don't know why, but they might.
No clue. And obviously on this show, named Everything But Net. We won't be talking about NBA almost ever, except for today.
Or soccer. Soccer. Not because they're bad, but because we don't know anything about them.
At all. We don't know anything.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you.
They have their place.
I couldn't tell you anything about the NBA other than maybe a couple players here and there.
He was a guy.
What's that?
I said Michael Jordan was a guy.
Yeah.
And there's a LeBron, I think. And,
we just cut in half our audience right there.
But like I said, we're a sports podcast, and basketball, soccer, they've got their place. We just don't know jack about them, so we can't really talk much about it.
I feel like hearing somebody who doesn't know anything about it is just kind of like, I don't really care about his opinion because they don't know anything about it. So that's kind of why we just left it out.
Yeah. Obviously, if something big happens in either of those, we'll cover it because, what kind of a podcast would we be if we didn't? But
words.
Yeah, they're fun.
Yeah.
I also wanted to take a quick moment to say when we came up with the idea for this podcast, one of the things that we decided on was we are going to steer away from political issues as much as possible. That being said, with everything that's happening in the United States right now and the whole Black Lives Matter movement, we don't consider that to be a political issue. This is a matter of humanity and human rights. Also, trying to ignore something this big, not only in the sports world, but in the world and in our communities as a whole, would be disingenuous, and we would be very much in the wrong to just ignore or try to silence any sort of conversation about this, because it's such a major and important part of what's going on in the world right now. Police brutality and racism within our country have to come to an end. That's all there is to it. Peace and love for all. It sounds like some hippie shit, but it's really like peace, love, and compassion are just, it's the foundations of being a human. And I think that staying silent or trying to ignore the problem is a big part of the problem. So we're going to get into a little bit about the impact of the Black Lives Matter movement on sports, and where it fits into our conversation, and a major change is needed. And so I just want to say the best way to facilitate real change is to go out and vote. If you are of voting age, go register and exercise your right to vote. If 100%. You don't vote and you don't like what's going on, you're part of the problem.
100%.
Because your voice was never heard.
I wish I was able to vote right now.
Right. So go out, if you're of legal age and a citizen of the United States, go out, register to vote, and make sure you exercise your right. It is a right that we as Americans have to take a major part in our political system.
I couldn't have said anything like better myself.
Yeah, and it's just such an important part about being an American, and above being an American, being a human, we have to protect our brothers and sisters, and we're all part of humanity, and that's all there is to it. There's nothing else that needs to be said about that. So with that, let's dive into the sports world.
Yeah.
And we're actually going to start today talking about the NFL, because of the impact that the Black Lives Matter movement has had on the league. Just real quick, a couple of points to get out of the way. First, the NFL informed all 32 teams Tuesday that their training camps must be conducted at team facilities and not on remote sites, and players are not expected to be at the facilities until those training camps.
That's great. Well, first,
coaches
what do they do there? Like
at the training camps?
Yeah. Like what would the players and just the team in general do there? Like honestly, right now.
Oh, showing up before camp?
Yeah. Like I don't get that.
Well, I mean, workouts and I mean OTAs are just not going to happen, I'm guessing.
Probably. I don't see it happening. No way.
Just because that is normally before training camp anyways.
Yeah, but that's
I don't
like
see OTAs.
1 or 2 weeks before. So like
yeah, but I don't see OTAs happening or any sort of and I might be wrong here, but I don't think that individual workouts are going to happen either not on facility.
I don't think on facilities grounds. I don't think so.
Yeah. Coaches were cleared to return on this past Friday, so 2 days ago at the time of recording. So they're able to get in and start getting prepped for the season. But players aren't expected to get back to the facilities until camp. Which I think is a good move by the NFL.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
I mean, they have time.
They have time. That being said, once you hit training camp, social distancing rules and all of that goes out the window.
Oh,
it is not happening.
Mm-mm.
So I think it's good what they're doing, and I think that again, I think that looking at other sports and how they are handling and have handled the COVID situation, I think is their advantage.
Mm. Especially with the amount of time that they have before the season gets underway. It's just good for them. They're in the best position possible as a sports league. Yeah, absolutely. The NHL and the NBA are handling things pretty well, and we'll talk about that a little later. The MLB is just kind of having a meltdown at the moment, though.
We're not. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to talk about that.
I can't wait. It's like
that's going to be a long conversation.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, but the NFL is really in a good spot because they can watch what other places are doing. And I mean, Texas is already allowing for 50% fan capacity. Florida's allowing for some fans. Yeah. And there are a couple other states too, I think.
Yeah, Florida's allowing like 1,000 people at the Homestead race this upcoming Sunday, I think it is. For NASCAR.
And they're allowing 1,600 per game when the NBA starts up in in Disney World.
Wow. Yeah. That's a lot, actually.
Yeah. So, the NFL's in a good spot right now in terms of the COVID situation. In terms of the Black Lives Matter situation,
they're in some hot waters.
They're in a little bit of trouble, and it's just because of the way that it was handled in 2016, 2017 when Colin Kaepernick started his protests and still is out of the league. With that being a huge question is if that's the reason. And if so, I mean, that's bad. Bad look on the NFL. And honestly, just like it's bad to try and silence a voice. And I mean, that's kind of what we just talked about.
I think part of the reason he's not on a team is he didn't play up to the level he did a few years before when he led teams to Super Bowls. But his stats kind of fell off the last season, and I think teams looked at the media attention that he was getting, and they didn't want that to distract from the actual game. Even then, it's kind of like, why would you still want to silence him? It's very questionable.
So I think Kaepernick, I mean, he was wronged. absolutely wronged.
Yeah.
At the very least, he was wronged by the media, wronged by the league. At the very least, he was wronged by the talking heads that were like, dude, shut up. No one cares what you have to say, because it's an important issue. And here we are in 2020, 4 or 5 years later, and it's the same shit.
Yeah.
That being said, I also think that a lot of what happened to him is, and I'm going to, for lack of a better term, say the Tebow effect. Right?
Yeah.
Where he played really, really well, and then his production started dropping off, but the media circus didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And having him in a locker room, because I don't know what happens in an NFL locker room. I know what happens in a football locker room. I played for 4 years.
I've played for
3 now. Yeah. We know what happens in a football locker room, but no idea what the media adds to it and how all that plays into an NFL locker room.
Yeah, high school football is completely different from NFL.
Absolutely. So we can't really talk to that aspect of it, but all I know is Colin Kaepernick is honestly probably at least better than 50% of the backups currently in the league.
Easily. Yeah. The fact that Cam Newton could be a backup and probably will be if he's signed to a team, that's kind of crazy. Like, Colin Kaepernick, I'd say he's better than Joe Flacco also.
I would agree. And even though he did lose to Joe Flacco in his Super Bowl.
It's fine. Joe Flacco had Ray Lewis on his defense then. We're good.
I know. I just thought that was the funny. I just thought it was funny that you used him as the example.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until you brought it up. So that's kind of funny.
But I'm gonna use the Broncos as an example right now, because we're both Broncos fans. I'm just gonna come out and say it.
Yeah.
We're both Broncos fans, and Drew Lock is the starter, no question about that.
Yeah.
Right now, our backup is Brandon Allen.
Yeah, it's kind of rough.
Kaepernick's better than him, like, just straight up.
Oh, easily. But the thing is, though, we gave Kaepernick a chance. John always said that, like, before he was out of the league, like, officially, and he didn't take it. So that's a whole other side of the story. But
yeah, the other Kaepernick, and I don't want to talk about Kaepernick because I don't want to talk about Kaepernick that much because right now he's not the focus.
Yeah.
But the other thing about Kaepernick, and this will be the last point on it, is the league tried to give him an opportunity to come back this past year, and he spat in their face a little bit. They set up workouts for him, and he said, "No, I'm going to go over here with my guys doing my thing." And it was a last minute change, and so it just that was a mess.
Yeah, that wasn't even a good look on him, like, at all.
Yeah,
that was bad.
So moving on from Colin Kaepernick, there was a video that circulated around social media earlier this week, with a whole bunch of NFL players, including Michael Thomas, Tyrann Mathieu, some really big name players, calling for action to the league, calling for action of some sort of either apology or statement or something on their response to those protests a few years ago.
Yeah, because it was bad. It was bad.
And especially, hindsight's 2020, but looking back on it
quite
now,
literally 2020.
Hey. And Goodell responded to those players saying, we were wrong for not listening to you. We were wrong for trying to silence. And honestly, right now, and I hate to say it because Goodell sucks, Roger Goodell looks like the best commissioner in sports.
Yeah. It's crazy.
What he's done through COVID, what he's done through this, like, Goodell is looking like the best commish in sports, and it's ridiculous.
Because literally 3 years ago, 1 year ago even, he was like the most hated commissioner in any sports league ever, I feel like.
Absolutely. And especially if you look at him next to Rob Manfred in the MLB, oh my gosh, it's a mess.
Oh,
But I mean, yeah. So Goodell came out, said, we were wrong for not listening, and it's like, duh.
yeah.
Your players were trying to tell you something back then, and to not even have a conversation with them, I think that,
Like, because
like Goodell
it
said,
turned
they were
in
wrong.
it turned into like a circus between like, oh, this is for Black Lives Matter movement, and everyone was shifting their focus on how it's disrespecting the flag, which everyone should have known that wasn't the case. And
Yeah, and that kind of goes to what happened with Drew Brees.
Yeah,
Earlier
it's
this week,
massive. That's massive.
And how Drew Brees came out and said, I don't agree with this because it's disrespectful to the flag, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
And the next day, which is fast to backpedal on something like that,
Yeah,
and say that you've learned more. But I don't think that he could have waited any longer. He would have been crucified by the media even more than he already was being.
I mean, he was crucified by his own city, and there were chants.
And he has done so much for that city.
So much. It's
and they
crazy.
Turned on him so fast. But he came back after his comments and said, I was wrong. After talking to my teammates and other players that I respect around the league, I'm finding out that this wasn't about the flag, and it's about being an American and what America has kind of become for the black population.
Yeah.
And one of the comments, and I don't remember who said it, but one of the things that I saw that was really, really good, and it was a guy he was on one of the ESPN shows earlier this week, who came out and was talking about Drew Brees, and he said what he should have said is, I don't agree, so I'm going to stand. But if you're not ready to do that, I will stand for myself and anyone who's not ready to until you feel comfortable and you feel ready to stand at my side.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really good way to put it.
It's yeah. I don't know where you heard that. You kind of just said it, but I can't think of where it could have came from. But it sounds much better than what Drew Brees said initially.
Yeah, and it was a really good way to put it. It's I will stand for you until you're ready to stand with me.
Yeah. That's really good.
Yeah, because that's what it is they're not trying to disrespect America. They're not trying to disrespect the flag by kneeling. It's their way of protesting and coming out and saying, don't do this, don't kneel, don't whatever. It's silencing their right to free speech, and that's the most important right that we have as Americans. And if not then, when?
Yeah. And I saw something interesting, actually. It was a couple years ago when this whole taking a knee thing was actually happening in the NFL. Drew Brees has tons of photos of him taking a knee during the national anthem, which I think
with
is
his teammates.
Really, really interesting, especially for him to say.
Yep. Yeah, but like if not during the national anthem, when are you going to do it? Because you can't. There's no other time during the game.
Yeah, no, unless you're winning,
where you can make your voice be heard. In that sort of way. Yeah. I mean, you can do it during interviews and everything, but I mean that's kind of the expected. You're going to say your piece during interviews, and only certain players get interviewed anyways. The only time that there can really be any sort of solidarity or coming together or anything is during the national anthem, because that's the only time that all the players are on the field together. That's the only time.
Yeah.
So, we can move on from that now. Couple other notes on the NFL. Luke Kuechly joined the Panthers front office team as a pro scout.
I think that's interesting. I mean, I not really, because kind of saw that coming, especially with how early he retired.
It makes sense. I don't think he's ready to be done with football, and I would not be surprised if he came out of retirement at some point later.
Yeah, I was thinking that before going as a front office position, but guess I was wrong.
The Jets, two points on the Jets. The Jets are reportedly talking to Kyle Long about coming out of retirement.
Well, he's looking good. Guard. He's looking in shape. He looks like a tight end.
I think he could be very dangerous if he decides to play again.
Get some speed in hands. Oh, he could be a tight end.
And then the Jets apparently dropped out of the Jadeveon Clowney race.
which just limits Jadeveon Clowney to who now? I think the Browns.
If he doesn't want to go play for the Browns, I don't know that he plays this year.
That's crazy. Oh, dude, the sports world's absolutely crazy right now, especially with all like NHL and NBA having their stuff finalized.
Yeah.
With like,
and then also final point in the final point in the NFL. Former NFL Patriot and Charger wide receiver Rashae Caldwell was killed in a robbery shooting in Tampa Bay over I think it was last night.
That's sad.
Yeah, so that's very sad, especially with everything else going on in the country. A robbery shooting is just not what needs to happen.
Nope.
So thoughts and prayers out to the Caldwell family.
Andre Caldwell was part of the Broncos Super Bowl 50. That's his brother.
Yep. So, thoughts and prayers go out to that family and any friends and former teammates of Rashae Caldwell. So you want to move on to NHL, NBA type?
Sure. I mean, they're basically the same thing.
Yep.
Same
news.
They're
very, very similar.
Extremely similar.
Yeah, the NHL finalized their playoff format, which, I mean, they're knocking it out of the park.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're doing so well with how they're handling coming back into play. I
can't wait to see them play again. It's going to be so great.
Oh, my gosh. So, the NHL, what they're having after they're having a 8-team, sorry. 4 from
each conference.
No, 8 from each conference.
8 from each conference.
8 from each conference are going to be going into a play-in round where they have to play to make it into the playoffs.
Okay. Yeah.
It's going to be a best of 5. And then after that, the 4 top-seeded teams in each conference.
That's where I thought you were going first.
The 4 top seeds in each conference. It's basically a bye from that play-in series. And so they'll join, and everything from then on, the next 4 series of the playoffs will be best of 7 series, which I think is crazy.
Yeah, it kind of the 5 game and then the 7 games afterwards. It kind of reminds me of baseball, honestly. Like with the wild card round being best of 5, or like I think it's just a 1-game shootout.
The wild card is a 1-game shootout,
and then it's best of 5, best of 7.
And then right.
That's kind of interesting. I can't wait to see how it plays out. I think maybe for like the first round, maybe it's like a 3 round. I don't know how 5 round will look. I think it should have been like 3.
Yeah, I don't know. I think a 5 makes sense though, because it gives players time to get back on their skates and
that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Swing of actually playing games
instead of just going, hey, here's going extremely competitive 3 games. That's all you got. Have fun.
Right, because that's one of the things that the NBA kind of adjusted, and we'll talk to that later.
Yeah.
And phase 2 of the NHL's plan to return starts tomorrow.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, tomorrow.
At the time of recording, tomorrow.
Tomorrow at the time of recording, so it'll be today at the time of release. Phase 2 goes into effect, and teams are permitted to reopen training facilities and host up to 6 players and limited staff at a time for voluntary individual workouts. So that means they can go play.
Finally.
Not play. They can go work out.
Finally.
And, they can get into the weight room and get back in shape, get some ice time and get back on their feet. I think that's huge for the players.
And phase 3 won't be until July or before July 10th, which is actually kind of interesting because then it's like when does playtime actually start?
Right. Yeah, because July 10th, like
that's a ways away.
That'll be almost exactly a month after they open up for individual workouts. So training camps coming a month later, that's a long stretch of individual
Maybe they could have done the 3-game series instead of the 5.
Well, I was going to say, these players could come back just in ungodly shape.
That's going to be interesting to see because, I mean, even NASCAR, they don't have practices still to this day. They're just racing.
So
they're strapping up, and going out and racing.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how the NHL plays out. Of course, there are teams that are unhappy with this whole format because you can't please everybody.
Yeah.
The Penguins are just pissed they have to play Carey Price.
Yeah, the Penguins are just mad in general.
They're just mad they have to play Carey Price.
They're just mad because they want to be mad, Jake.
That's fair.
They're just getting a reason to be mad.
Yeah, they don't want to play Carey Price, which I mean makes sense. One of the best goalies in the league. He can actually destroy a 5-game series for you.
Yeah, which maybe a 3-game series would have been better.
Oh gosh. Here's a question I have for you.
Okay.
Does this sort of playoff format, and reseeding the teams after each round and all of the shuffling that they're doing, does this put an asterisk on the Stanley Cup this year?
I think so. Only because the players are calling it the COVID Cup. Like, it's not the Stanley Cup playoffs. This isn't. This is a completely different format. I don't think anybody's going to say, oh, hey, these are the Stanley Cup champions from last year. We got to watch out and play them differently. They're just going to be like, okay, hey, this is another team. Let's go out there and try to beat them, you know?
They won a few series.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah. they got to win in a shortened season. Good job.
I kind of agree with you to a point.
Okay, well then what's your point of like, I want to hear this. This is going to be good. I
definitely think that it puts an asterisk on a lot.
Oh, easily.
A lot of what could happen.
Yeah.
But if one of those top 4 seeds from either conference, if it ends up being, one of the top 4s versus the other, one of the top 4s.
Yeah, then it's kind of like, okay, they kind of deserved it.
It's kind of like, okay, we could have been here with a regular playoff.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a team like the Canadiens or the Blackhawks who were bad all season.
Yeah.
And we're like 3 games away from being mathematically eliminated anyways. If it's a team like that comes out of the woodworks and starts beating up on some of these favorite teams, absolutely,
like the top teams, the top 4 that are playing for their seedings, I think it's a big asterisk on them.
But I kind of agree with what you're saying. I don't think that there will be a lot of teams that look at whoever wins this year as more of a threat.
Unless it's the Bruins. In all honesty, unless it's the Bruins. And I'm not saying that because I'm in New England, because Vegas Golden Knights have me. But if it's the Bruins, it's kind of like they're the number 1 seed in the whole league. They're good.
Let's look at it in all honesty. If we look at the standings, and I'm gonna pull them up real quick. If we look at the standings from the end of from the stoppage point, the top 4 teams in each conference.
Because I don't think the Bruins were getting. I don't think they were dropping into like the second position in the standings. I think they were like locked in at first.
Yeah, the Lightning were the next closest, and they were pretty far away.
Yeah, so the Bruins were running away with it.
The top 4 in the East are the Bruins, the Lightning, the Capitals, and the Flyers.
Yeah.
Bruins, Lightning, and the Caps were all damn good teams all season.
Oh yeah, but the Bruins were so far ahead of everyone. It looked like they were playing a completely different game.
Yeah, and the Flyers were good, but they came on super late.
Yeah, they were the late blooming team. Yeah.
And then if you look at the West, the
West was all sorts of everywhere. It was bouncing back and forth. All sorts
of everywhere. Because the West, the top 4 is the Blues, the Avalanche, the Knights, and the Oilers.
Yeah.
Where
the Knights had just played their way in, I think, too.
Yeah.
Which is kind of dope.
I'm pretty sure that was one of the last games of the season.
Yeah, they played their way in, and then it was kind of like cut, and I was like, yes.
But the Avalanche
They were strong. I feel
they were one win away.
Yeah,
from taking the first spot away from the Blues, because it's they're at a 2-point difference. It's 94 versus 92 points.
Okay,
but the Blues have a game up on the Avs.
Yeah.
if the Avs won a game, they also have the head-to-head against the Blues.
Gotcha.
They would have taken first place in that conference.
Yeah, but didn't they make it in the top 4?
So they're second. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That makes
they're in second.
Yeah. That's
so
good.
I mean that's what I'm saying. If it's like the Blues or the Avs or the Knights or someone like that versus the Bruins or the Lightning or the Capitals,
they should be
Cup,
there.
Makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just have to see how that plays out.
Yeah. And another thing we have to watch for is the NBA.
Knows?
Like that whole thing.
The NBA.
It's not as interesting as the MLB. Probably because I don't know anything about the NBA, but the MLB's kind of got something weird going on. Can't wait to start talking about that.
The NBA, I think, just kind of went, oh, look at what the NHL's doing. I like it.
Yeah, let's replicate it.
Let's do it.
They were probably, in all honesty, I think that they were just waiting for a league like the NHL to bring something out that looked like something the NBA could do, and just go like, hey, I want that. Yeah. Let me have it.
Especially with the fact that those teams ended at the same time, or those leagues ended at the same time, are planning on coming back around the same time. Like, it makes sense that they have very similar return.
But it's almost like to a T the same thing.
Yeah. Except for, so I kind of like what they're doing, because, so I'm just gonna read this off real quick.
Oh yeah.
The both the Board of Governors and the NBAPA unanimously voted to this restart
with the 22-team format.
With the 22-team format. So it's going to be the 16 teams that were already in playoff position, plus 6 teams that were within 6 games of that final seed in their conference, which makes sense.
Yeah. Obviously.
Because there were more than 6 games left in the season.
So the bubble teams could have made it in.
Right. So they're planning on a July 31st tip-off.
Which is faster. Well, actually, is it faster?
It's so far away.
It's so far away, yeah.
So far away.
Because the NHL's Phase 3, like, not before July 10th. So that's still a ways away.
Right. So if the NHL starts on July 10th, training camps aren't longer than 2 or 3 weeks. They could start at the same time.
That's crazy. Well,
and the NBA is planning for a July 10th tip-off, which is the start of games again.
Yeah.
Each team will play 2 or 3 exhibition games before starting the season, and I love that from the NBA.
It makes sense, especially against like the NHL, who's just saying, "Hey, playoffs, go
play playoffs,
go be as competitive as you can be to win a title."
Yeah. So I think I love adding the exhibition games. I think that makes a lot of sense because it gives your players a chance to go
play and practice in a scrimmage type sense.
Right, where you're still competing against other teams, so you're not just playing against your own guys.
But you're also trying to keep people healthy and balance everything out. Yeah, I like it. Yep. I like it. I think the NBA is doing a lot of things right.
Yeah, players are expected to have a 3-hour practice window and access to 2 courts and weight rooms, which is the only way I can see them getting all 22 teams in.
Yep. I mean, they're also trying to cram each other into, like, a Disney resort or whatever in Orlando.
Walt Disney World in Orlando. Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I didn't know that Walt Disney World had this.
Yeah.
Like, they're just, where are they keeping it?
Right?
Where are they keeping this?
It's like, hey, we have basketball courts.
Yeah, where's the hockey rinks? Where's anything else?
Yeah. So I think that's fine.
Disney's hiding a lot of stuff if they hit a basketball court from us. Maybe. Right? Okay, well, let's think about it this way.
2 basketball courts and weight rooms.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Yeah, but
at least. And there might be more if, like, because if you have 2 teams practicing at the same time and they also have access to 2 courts.
Dude, how much are they hiding from us? Maybe people like know basketball knew about this and we're just dumb. But like I feel like a lot of people didn't know this. Like who would know that Walt Disney World would have just basketball courts in their
not just
place.
Sports stadiums. Because they're gonna have fans. So
yeah, that's true too. There's stadiums, not even just courts. It's not like outside.
So there's
oh my god.
They're allowing a maximum of 1,600 people to be permitted to the site, with families being allowed entry after the first round of the playoffs. Which I'm a little confused as to why they're doing it that way.
Yeah. I'm also concerned, like, if it's not outside, like we think it is, and they have 2 stadiums, why are they letting people in? Because I mean, understand, like, with Texas allowing 50% capacity of outdoor sports, and other places like Homestead, the race next week in Florida, they're allowing people to be in the stands, but that's all outside. That's all outside, not enclosed. I don't know how that's gonna work.
We also got to remember this is in July 30th.
Yeah, so things could look completely different. Things could look
so much different by then.
Yeah, hopefully it's different.
I don't understand why they're only allowing players' families entries after the first round is over. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it doesn't. But I mean, who knows? Maybe it's just saying, hey, this is like the first round, like experimental round where it's like, let's see if the players get any of this COVID-19, and if not, here's your family members. You unlocked that, so there you go.
You've unlocked. Congratulations, you have unlocked family.
Yay, family.
There will be COVID testing nightly,
which I think's ridiculous. That's gonna cost them so much money.
Well, they can afford it.
Yeah. Maybe.
With a positive test resulting in a minimum of 7 days of quarantine.
Which is kind of weird because we're like supposed to have 2 weeks.
A minimum of 7 days.
Yeah.
They could extend it. So when families are allowed entry, family members will also be tested and will be subject to a mandatory 7-day quarantine regardless of the results.
Mm-hmm.
And families are limited to a party of 3 with some exceptions.
That's also probably why they're not letting them go for the first round, because they're probably getting the families in, having their 7 days, and then that's probably when the round 2 is going to kick off. That could be why.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that with some exceptions asterisk on the families limited to a party of 3 is like people with more than 2 kids.
Yeah.
So you can bring in the wife and 2 of your kids, pick 2, whichever your favorites
are. or like the oldest, if you have like a 2-year-old and the others are 5 and 6, then go ahead, you know?
Or
keep the 2-year-old with your grandmother.
6-year-old,
yeah.
Let the 6-year-old go run around Disney World by themselves. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
And the start date for the 2020-2021 season is still to be negotiated.
Although December 1st was proposed.
Yeah, the original proposal was for December 1st, but there are some players and PA reps that are concerned about returning that quickly after finishing the season.
Yeah.
Because by the time August finishes, I mean, they might get a full 3 months of rest.
Maybe. But I mean, that's what they got right now. So
yeah, that's true.
I mean, how much more rest do you want? It's going to add up either way.
Yeah, that's fair. So that's still being negotiated, so we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, and you know what else is being negotiated? The MLB in its entirety. I can't wait. We're finally here. The MLB is having a temper tantrum with everything. The MLB...
The MLB is in a giant pissing match with their players.
Yeah, they're in a war with their own players.
That's really all that it is.
The MLB rejected MLBPA proposal for a 114-game season. It stated it will not send a counter proposal, and it has engaged owners in discussion about proceeding without fans to hopefully get the season back on track if they can find a deal with the MLBPA, which I don't see happening. I don't.
They're so far apart in negotiations still.
But that's only because the MLB doesn't want a counter proposal. If they counter proposed any of the offers, maybe they could find a middle ground.
Even if they counter proposed, because the league is reportedly considering 48 games, which is it's a little more than a third of what the PA wanted.
Yeah.
Players would get their entire full prorated salaries and would only consider a longer schedule if players agree to further pay cuts.
Which they won't. They won't.
They shouldn't.
No way. Not at all. Especially, you're risking your life right now going to play sports, honestly, with the coronavirus still a thing.
Right. You at least, at the very least, you could be risking your life.
Yeah. And that's what players have been saying. Like, I've seen Twitch clips of players like, yo, I'm not gonna play.
Yeah. Like, I mean, their 48 game proposal comes with full prorated salaries, but again, that's for time played.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's still just it's a lot of money for like people like us, but for those athletes, for those players
that are used to making
nothing.
Bank.
Well, and if you look at what that would cost the lower paid players, dude, they would honestly, I think some of them, if they dropped to a 48 game instead of 160 game season like they normally play, some of them would just barely be making more than I do in a year.
That's kind of crazy. Although I don't know how much you make in a year. I don't think you want to disclose that either. I just think.
But the lower end of the MLB salary isn't that much.
No, but that's because you have all these big stars making bank.
Disclosure, not that much compared to the other athletes on the team.
Yeah.
It's all relative.
Extremely relative.
But some of those players rely on that for their livelihoods. I mean, all of the players rely on it for their livelihoods, but some of them
more than others.
Some of them more than others, because some of them are not paid the Bryce Harper salaries.
Yeah. They're paid
a
little over a AA salary.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, again, they're just so far away. And with the 114 game schedule being a non-starter, according to the Diamondbacks manager, Ken Kendrick, and the MLBPA saying that they will not take extra pay cuts. Like, those are two sides saying, you're giving us you're saying this and we refuse. And the other saying, okay, well, you're giving us this and we refuse.
Yeah, it's
It's two sides of the argument, both saying no, period.
Yeah.
And that period is what scares me.
Because I don't think there's anybody that's going to come out of this be like, hey, guys, I'm in the middle between the MLB and the MLBPA. Let's come here, close this, handshakes all around. Thank you. Let's continue playing. Right. Now. Like, I don't think that's happening. No way.
Right. And so, the MLBPA's chief negotiator, Bruce Mayer, sent out a letter to the league. And I kind of want to just read off what he said, because, I mean, you can tell in this letter, he's furious.
I mean, I would be too.
I'm just going to read that. So I'm just going to read that off. We are disappointed that you are purportedly shutting down negotiations after making one proposal demanding over $800 million in further pay cuts. We reject your invitation at the end of the letter to negotiate against ourselves. Mayer then goes on to say that the MLB has used cynical tactics of depriving America of baseball games. We're happy to hear that the commissioner is committed to playing baseball in 2020, since MLB's course of conduct continues to lead to doubts, he says. So, like, I don't see I don't see it come together. I don't see the path to it.
No way. The yellow brick road is so far off this whole entire thing. There's nobody even coming close to it.
And what just makes this all so the owners have already stated that they're okay eating the season.
Yeah, which is also really scary because that means no baseball.
Which means no baseball, which I think because baseball's dying in America already.
Yeah, unfortunately, like it's sad to say.
It is sad to say because I mean we're a big baseball show. Baseball show. But it's losing popularity, and it's losing popularity to things like the NFL, the NHL, and the NBA.
Even NASCAR. I mean, like, come on now, you're letting NASCAR beat you out, like.
And I really think if the MLB decides, screw it, we're not playing this year.
That's gonna be so bad for the next upcoming years. They're gonna need to do something.
Gonna be so bad.
They're gonna need to do something to change
so bad.
This all.
And like it.
You want to know that something though, which I think could be really interesting, is the off-season home run derby and all-star events just to make more money.
That would be fun.
That would be also, so much fun.
If you made it if you made it a fan vote.
Oh my gosh, that would be so great. Dude,
yeah, I think that could be cool.
I would love to watch just summer nights, every like other weekend in the MLB, just watching them swing homers. Like, that would be great.
Well, and imagine if they did like a different thing every week.
That would be so cool. With a fan vote.
We're gonna do home run derby. We're gonna do home run derby this weekend. We're gonna do some other skills contest.
And then at like the end of the month, they can be like, okay, all-star game. Everyone that was voted in by the fans are gonna play this week. That could
be cool.
That could be so great.
That could be really cool. Oh, you know the other thing that just really throws a wrench into this whole negotiation thing?
What's that?
Their CBA, their collective bargaining agreement, is set to end after next season.
Ooh. What's that about though? Like what's that gonna entail?
So that's the agreement between the MLB and the MLBPA on how business is conducted. How players make money, how like it's
That's not good. That's not good at all.
No, it's not. No, it's not. I mean, the NFL just this past offseason had their CBA negotiations, and it was a mess.
Oh yeah.
And they didn't go through what the MLB's going through right now.
At all. That's just dude, it's a whirlwind of everything bad in the MLB right now.
Their CBA, because the players could very, very well look at the MLB if they don't play this year, and the players look at the MLB and look at the CBA and don't like it. The players honestly, and I don't think the owners realize this, the players have the power.
Oh
because
yeah.
Without the players, the owners make no money.
Mm-hmm. I mean that's in every player. What's it called? It's MLBPA, the Players Association. That's in every Players Association. The NFL, I don't know if the NBA has it. I think they do.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, and even the MLB. This is why NASCAR doesn't have a Players Association. I mean, F1 does, and it's bad. Like the F1's in a bad state too.
But the players have all the power, and I don't think the owners quite understand.
Yeah, I don't think they're awoken to the fact that, hey, these guys are actually the owners.
And what it could very well do is these players could look at this and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to go play baseball in Japan. I'm going to go play baseball in Korea. I'm going to go play baseball for the Dominican Republic. Like, because baseball is a worldwide sport.
Oh, yeah.
These players could walk out, go play somewhere else, play the game, make less money, way less money.
But they would sell out everywhere.
But they would stick it to the owners.
Yeah.
And the owners would panic.
I think that's kind of what happens in the NBA also. Like some of the young guys, I don't know who, but there's like young guys going over to Australia playing NBA instead of just going straight to the NBA.
A lot of the times that's more because of the skill level, though.
Maybe. I don't know.
It's
again
them trying.
I don't know anything about basketball.
Yeah, a lot of the times doing something like that is more trying to learn how to be a professional basketball player as opposed to just like coming out of college.
Who knows? I mean, half of these kids going into the NBA are coming out of high school. They don't even go to college.
All right, what else you got on the MLB there?
The Pirates pitcher Chris Archer is out for 2020, if there is a 2020 season. After I don't even know how to say that.
Thoracic out.
Yeah.
Thoracic
outlet surgery.
Thoracic. Oh my gosh.
Thoracic we don't know how to speak. Surgery. Yay.
Words are hard. It's fine. Also, Scott Boras who is one of the agents whose name has come up so many times in this.
Which is interesting. He's an agent.
It's funny because he made one comment about, Cave, just give the owners what they want.
Yeah.
Was put on blast, and since then has been the PA's biggest
ally. Yeah. That's kind of funny.
But he's planning on paying the full salary of every minor league client that he represents that is released by their team.
That's kind of huge.
That's massive.
Because where are you getting this money from, Scott Boras?
Other than I mean there are already players who have agreed to do that for their teammates, and I guarantee that his statement is if you're not getting it somewhere else.
Yeah, probably. I mean, that would just make sense.
Yep.
Dude, you want to know what was great to watch? The UFC last night at time of recording.
Oh my gosh.
That was so fun. I joined in a little late, but it was still good. I think I saw 2 or 3 fights.
Yeah. I watched all the prelims and the main card.
Yeah. How are the prelims?
Were nothing special. They were nothing special. I mean, it's prelims. It's people trying to make their name.
Makes sense.
One of the things that I thought was interesting is last night they kept harping on last night's event was a huge showcase for the bantamweight division.
Oh, easily.
The male bantamweight division.
And they made him look so good.
Which it was. They made it look so good, and I think 3 of the 5 main card fights were bantamweight fights.
Yeah.
And I think there were another 2 prelims that were bantamweight.
And I'm pretty sure all the bantamweight main card fights were the best fights of the night.
The bantamweight fights were nuts. Also, I mean, the reason that they were saying that is because there is currently no male bantamweight champion.
Yeah, that's true also.
So
it's kind of crazy.
So someone needs to step in and be the guy.
I think Sean O'Malley.
I think that we saw.
I think Sean O'Malley.
Sean O'Malley. That fight was great, and his KO was wild.
Yeah. He had a clean
real quick. Real quick, I'm just gonna go over all of the results from all the fights, and then we can talk a little more in depth.
Yeah.
So UFC 250 last night. We're gonna go from first fight of the main card to the main event.
Mm-hmm.
So Sean O'Malley beat Eddie Wineland by KO in round 1 after 1 minute 57 seconds. Neil Magny won by unanimous decision over Anthony Rocco Martin. Aljamain Sterling won by submission by rear naked choke 1 minute and 28 seconds into round 1 over Corey Sandigan. Cody Garbrandt won by knockout at the bell.
That was dope.
Round 2.
It was such a brutal knockout. This was the fight that I actually started watching. I think I just got in right before they started going at it. And man.
So Cody Garbrandt won that fight over Rafael Assunção, and then Amanda Nunes won by unanimous decision over Felicia Spence.
Which it should have been over in round 4. You're just calling it right there.
Gosh. So let's start with the Sean O'Malley knockout.
That was nasty.
That hit was nuts, and he came, nailed him in the jaw.
Yeah.
And as soon as he made contact, walked off.
Yeah. He just
knew.
He just had a clean overhand right, and he just walked away. He was like, he's done.
Clocked him, and walked off.
Yeah. That was nice.
Oh my gosh, it was so good. Dude had a great mustache. Didn't deserve to be done like that. Eddie Wineland, great mustache.
Eddie Wineland was quite literally clowned with the hair of Sean O'Malley.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's about.
He didn't deserve that sort of disrespect. But, Wineland also showed a lot of really great sportsmanship after the fight.
I mean, when you get KO'd in round 1, you kind of have to. It's like, okay, yeah, there you go.
Called Sean O'Malley. Called Sean O'Malley over afterwards. They had a nice moment after the fight. That being said, I thought after watching that, I was like, you know what? Fight of the night. Can't beat that. In walks Cody Garbrandt.
Dude, that was such a brutal KO. Oh.
And a Sun Tzu was hanging like that. After round 1, and I was getting ready to call round 2. After round 1, I couldn't have told you who won.
No, round 1 was a good. It was kind of even. They were kind of feeling each other out.
Round 2, couldn't have told you who won
until the last second.
Punch. So what happens is Cody Garbrandt is just so fast.
He was really fast. Joe Rogan said, I don't watch UFC, but Joe Rogan, I'm listening to Joe Rogan. He's a god.
I mean, yeah.
I listened to a bunch of his podcasts, but Joe Rogan said that this was the fastest he's seen him in, I think, forever. And that was after him taking a break.
Cody Garbrandt was just so fast last night. And a Sun Tzu fought him well.
Yeah.
Like
for the moments that he could.
Technical. Yeah. He was super technical, and I actually think that a Sun Tzu won the first round.
Maybe.
And I think a Sun Tzu could have been called winner of the second round too.
Well, that's just because they were keeping distance, feeling each other out. I feel like a Sun Tzu just had kind of like more on him,
Well, and a Sun Tzu was making some cleaner hits, and he was doing his thing. A Sun Tzu is also a great fighter.
But a Sun Tzu didn't get the cleanest hit in because Cody Garbrandt, dude, he loaded up. Joe Rogan said literally behind his knee at the cage, just hits him with the hook, comes in the jaw,
comes over with the right hook, and just sends him night.
He went into a different dimension. Like he was falling off of the stool, dude. It was brutal. It was absolutely.
It was so bad because he goes down, and he tries to stand up, can't stand up, so they bring him the stool. He sits on the stool and almost eats it off the stool. Almost takes a dive.
And they take the stool away.
Take the stool away. All the while, Joe Rogan's yelling at them, "Where are you going? Give him the stool back!"
And then the other commentators are like, "Yo, no, they're letting him sit on the floor. They don't want him to fall.
That way he doesn't fall off the stool." So he sits down on the floor and just like tries to figure out where in the hell he is.
He's seen aliens in a different dimension. He's fine, yeah.
And just Garbrandt looked so good.
Yeah.
Like Garbrandt was an explosive, exciting fighter. And I think a Garbrandt versus O'Malley fight would be incredible to watch.
Yup. Because I mean, they're kind of both strikers. I don't think I saw.
They're both strikers.
Yeah, I don't think I saw Garbrandt grapple with
fast
Sun Tzu. So that could be a really interesting fight.
It would be
like the sound of it.
Bloodbath.
I like the sound of it. Could it be a title fight?
I think I could see that happening. And after Garbrandt KOs a Sun Tzu, calls him over and says, "Go win that belt."
Yeah, yeah. You know who defended that belt though? Amanda Nunes.
Yo, she handled Felicia Spencer.
You got to give it to Felicia Spencer, though. She stayed in there.
25 minutes just getting annihilated by Amanda Nunes.
Amanda Nunes didn't have a bruise on her. Felicia Spencer had everything on her.
She had bruises, cuts. She was in rough shape, dude.
It looked like it was over round 3, and I was hoping, because I called on Wednesday. I was like, yo, round 4. I told you to bet money on it. Round 4. Nunes is going to win. And that almost came true. I was hoping Spencer stayed alive in round 3. She did. went in round 4. It should have been over. They should have called it round 4, but they didn't.
That fight should have been over 3 times.
Oh yeah.
In round 4 into 5. If that 4th round lasts 2 more seconds, Felicia Spencer either submits or goes nut night.
Yeah.
And the fight's over. If that round goes 2 more seconds.
Which I think would have been great, because I could have been like, yo, I told you so.
Her corner should have thrown in the towel.
Uh-huh.
Her corner should have thrown in the towel. They did her dirty.
Yeah. I want to know the conversation between her and her corner. Like, yo, why didn't you throw that in?
They did her dirty. Well, and then with a minute into the 5th, the doctor came over.
Oh yeah.
And asked her if she was still good to go.
Yeah. She's like, I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Props to Amanda Nunes though, because she could have just, for round 5, she could have just continued to wail on this poor girl.
She could have ended her life.
And she didn't.
Yeah.
She took mercy on her, which you don't see a lot in blood sports.
I mean, she kind of took mercy on her once she was on the ground, and she was just kind of standing over her, like looking at her like, okay, get up. Get up.
The last 3 minutes of the
last couple of rounds. The last couple of rounds, she was on the ground. She's just over, letting her get up.
Yeah, but the last 3 minutes of the fight, Nunes just kind of backed off and defended, and really didn't try and go offensive for the rest of the fight.
I mean, that's good too.
I mean,
because if you're why risk even getting punched after you just won all 5 rounds? Like,
yeah. But I mean, it shows a hell of a lot of toughness for Felicia Spencer.
Oh yeah.
Like that girl is that woman is tough. That woman could destroy most people.
Easily. Yeah.
But it also shows a lot of character from Amanda Nunes.
Which is deserving, because especially afterwards when she gave her the belt, like that was kind of cool to see.
Oh, that was cool. Yeah, a lot of character from Amanda Nunes. First fighter in UFC history to defend a belt while still holding a second. So here's a question I have for you. Everyone's calling her the greatest female fighter in UFC history. Is she the best fighter in UFC history?
Yeah.
And I think she very well could be.
Yeah, she is. 100%.
I mean,
I haven't seen many UFC fights.
She owns...
I'll say that. I haven't seen many. But dang, that was a performance.
She's on a different level. It's insane just how good she is. And again, the character, and I mean, again, first in UFC history to defend 2 belts simultaneously. That's crazy. And she was so good.
You want to know what else is kind of funny?
Last night was a clinic.
Oh, easily. It was a cakewalk for her.
Yeah.
I think what's really funny is a dude bet $1 million on that fight. Like...
Oh, man. You know what? He looks fine today.
But last night, dude, before the bell, I want to know if he was, like, sweating up a storm, dude. He could have lost $1 million.
Because the payoff... Well, and the payoff was $166,666.70.
It wasn't worth it. I don't know why he did it.
It's that payoff. Like, you're gaining...
Nothing.
It's...
You said
just over 15.
You said less than 20% payout last night when I was talking to you about it.
Yep, it's just over 15%.
That's so dumb. You want to know what else? I think. Oh gosh. Yeah, hear me out. Hear me out for this. Conor McGregor retired for the 3rd time.
Again?
For the 3rd time. Yeah, again.
Yo, dude thinks he's Brett Favre.
But here's the thing. Do you think he was just trying to take things over on him? Take the spotlight on him? Because if you think about it, there were great fights last night, right? And he was just kind of quiet, and he likes attention on him. I think he was kind of like, "Yo, what am I gonna do to get the attention on me? I'm just gonna call it quits again. I'm gonna retire."
That's possible, but it's the thing that is very bizarre to me is that last week McGregor accepted a fight.
That's what I'm saying. He likes the attention.
Like, or he verbally accepted a fight. He didn't
Yeah,
actually accept
but
it. But he verbally
still,
accepted a fight last week.
Still.
And I don't know what he's doing, man. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I think he just wants a spotlight.
It's Conor McGregor. Trying to analyze whatever he does is a waste of time.
Yeah, unless it's like actually fighting, because then it's like, okay, is he good or not?
Yeah, right.
Because I still don't know. I've seen him lose fights he should have won. I've seen him win fights he should have lost.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've seen him win fights early when he should have had probably the whole fight to go on through, but I couldn't tell you. I still want to see him kind of rematch Floyd Mayweather in boxing. Or MMA, either or. That would be kind of cool to see.
Yo, having Floyd come in and try... See, the difference is... Oh, I don't know if I want to say this.
Boy.
I'll do it. Why not? I feel like an MMA to boxing switch is way easier than boxing to MMA.
Yeah. Dude, think about it, though. From boxing, using just your arms and your fists, you're using...
And, I mean, it's all about striking.
Yeah.
That's what boxing is. Boxing's all about striking and not getting hit.
Which I love.
Not getting hit.
I love.
Whereas the MMA, it's everything. It's... You know, it's the
elbows,
strikes, it's the kicks,
backhand,
it's the grapples, it's the elbows.
It's so brutal. I would never want to do MMA.
Brutal.
I would never.
I don't want to get elbowed in the face.
No, I don't want to get kicked.
The amount of elbows,
that's my thing. I don't want to get kicked.
Well, the amount of elbows that Nunes landed on Spencer last night.
That was god tier elbows from her. But
like that was absolutely insane.
It was kind of like Felicia Spencer was like, "Here, elbow my face, please."
Yeah, that I don't know, man.
That fight was good.
Poor Felicia Spencer.
Oh boy,
that poor girl.
Yeah, dude. There's not much news left. Not to talk about.
Yeah.
Other than like F1 and how their schedule's coming along.
Yep. So they've said that they're not going to cancel even if a driver tests positive for COVID.
Which is interesting because what are they going to do? They have like such strict guidelines and they don't have very many people to drive. Like they have 20 people to drive, 2 for each team, and not many people behind ready to drive an F1 car.
So do they have to have that many people in the race?
I don't know.
Can they go without it? I
think that's what they're gonna do if it comes down to that. But that's gonna be interesting because imagine Mercedes losing Lewis Hamilton, who's won 6 championships for them, 7, 6, 7, one of the 2 numbers.
Whatever.
He's good. He's probably gonna win most of these races. If he tests positive, it's like, oh no, are we just gonna have Bottas like race alone, or are we gonna try to find somebody to fill Lewis Hamilton's ride, which is gonna be interesting.
Right.
Speaking of Lewis Hamilton,
I don't know,
and the whole Mercedes team, they plan on doing a 2-day private testing at Silverstone, which is kind of interesting because they're gonna be using 2-year-old cars because the rules in F1 they can't use the current cars or cars from last year, so they're not getting like full driving effect of this year's car. But it's still going to be driving. And I don't think any other team is planning on doing this. Which is... Yeah. Which is...
I mean, it's kind of what we talked about with the NHL and the NBA.
Yeah.
It's getting your people back into some sort of shape.
And
just putting them behind a wheel again, I mean, that helps.
But here's the other thing. How much of an advantage is it going to be against the other drivers if they aren't gonna do anything like that, which it doesn't sound like any other team is.
I don't know. I think it would honestly depend on the difference in the car.
Yeah.
But I think I would think regardless it's at least a slight advantage because of the fact that again you're getting
more practice time.
You're getting some sort of practice time. You're getting I mean, it's like in the NHL, you know, they're getting individual workouts, but that's ice time.
Yeah.
I mean, time behind the wheel is time behind the wheel and going at speeds and you're working on your reactions and it's still practice. It's still an advantage that you're going to have.
And also, just because the whole season hasn't even started for them yet, like COVID hit, I think the weekend before they were supposed to start running anything, or somewhere around that time. They don't have a race under their belt like NASCAR did. They don't know what to do, and it's even harder because they're going internationally. But they did release their schedule, which says the first 8 races is going to be an Austria doubleheader. So they're going to have 2 weeks in Austria. Then they're going to go Hungary, Great Britain, which is also a doubleheader, Spain, Belgium, and Italy. And then they're planning on to release more of the schedule in the upcoming not 2 weeks, but in the coming weeks. Which
did they give a time frame on any of those races, or is it just these are the first races?
I can't remember. That's a good question. I can't remember if there's a time frame. I bet you can fact check that for me.
Yep, I'm on it.
Because I don't remember seeing a date. And if I did, I would have put them in the notes, I think. There are dates. You want to run those through?
They're planning on... Yep. Yeah, so I'm just going to give the first week.
Okay.
So the first week they're planning on running the weekend of July 4th.
Oh, that's kind of dope, actually. Okay, I didn't see that. That's kind of cool.
Yep, July 3 through 5 is the first week.
All right, and then probably the next week after is still the same race in Austria. That's cool. That's cool. I like that.
Yep, and then they're doing 1 week.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. But that's going to be great because the July 4th weekend's already jam-packed with races. You have IndyCar and NASCAR going at the same track at Indianapolis, which is kind of great. I can't wait for the IndyCar race at Indianapolis because that's the Indy 500. That was supposed to be what was raced on Memorial Day. And this is the first weekend, July 4th is the first weekend that the NASCAR and IndyCars are going to be racing at the same track on the same weekend, which I can't wait for.
That's super
Unfortunately, cool. Indianapolis can't have fans. They announced that earlier this week, and that's kind of a bummer because that was supposed to be like a massive thing to draw fans into NASCAR and IndyCar, but didn't happen. And now it's kind of like what is the first track going to be with like actual fans, which already seems to be Homestead, which is actually going to be kind of interesting because it's this upcoming week for NASCAR. But I don't know about IndyCar because they ran their race at Texas last night and didn't have any fans.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this whole thing for all the sports, it's going to be interesting watching the fans, no fans debate go on for as long as it does. It'll be something to watch.
NASCAR also announced their schedule for like the most of the summer, actually all of the summer, I think. They went to all the way up to August 2nd. So I'm not going to read off all of the schedule because that's just too many races. But it's pretty jam-packed. And August 2nd I can't wait for because they're coming to New Hampshire. And that race, since it's not on the July weekend that I can't go to, if they allow fans August 2nd in New Hampshire, expect me to be going to that race. I cannot wait.
Nice.
I hope it happens.
Nice. One last point I wanna say real quick.
Yeah.
Titan Games still exists. Thank you, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, giving us a little bit of competition. Joe Thomas, my boy, undefeated. Yeah. Former Browns All-Pro offensive tackle Joe Thomas is chilling with Dwayne Johnson, doing some Titan Games. It's a fun time.
Two beasts together
Monday nights. Yeah.
I think that about wraps it
Tyler,
up.
you want to take us out?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for coming and listening or watching wherever you're listening to. We are on every platform for podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. We're also on YouTube, where maybe this is how you're seeing us. You can see us. You can see our faces actually on YouTube. Hopefully. I mean, depends on if my video actually records. We did a test run last week, and that was all over the place. Glad it was a test run because I think we got everything polished out this time. But yeah, we're on YouTube. We're on everywhere you listen to podcasts. We're also on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Am I missing anything else? I don't think I am.
Nah.
All right,
we're on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at everythingbutnet.
Yep. And if it's not there, just go to the other ones because that'll definitely be there. And you can find all of our social media everywhere else linked into one whole big giant thing, I guess you could call it. Big thing. With that being said, thank you for coming to listen or watch on YouTube, and we will see you guys next week. I am Tyler, and that is Jake. We will see you guys next week.